My sister-in-law just told me I cannot come to their house welcoming party, and the reason is because basically she hates my guts, and she's saying that I contributed nothing to help them out when they needed it. That is a lie, and I will explain everything. Let me paint a picture of the absurdity I have willingly stepped into. I struck a deal with my older brother, thinking I was the big person, but now I'm left questioning my sanity with every passing second in their presence. Where do I even begin with this nonsense? Welcome to my world of family drama where making sacrifices leads to a regret and frustration. And believe me, the situation is as ridiculous as it sounds. How long is it possible to ignore these dumb and pathetic family members? They claim to love you when they're at their lowest, but the moment they start doing well, they throw you under the bus without a second thought. It's almost impressive the way that they can turn their backs on someone they once begged for help from. Tell me how much you can relate or cannot to the story. Let's start with the crucial question. If your spouse keeps threatening to leave you unless you fulfill their every whim, would you still choose to be with them? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Suzy, 33, and I live my life with a list of accomplishments. Now, you might think that would give me the right to chuckle at my older brother, Jasper, who's 37 and, let us say, still finding his way in life. But who am I to laugh, right? As his lovely wife, Leslie, delicately puts it, you always had a head start, so you're more pathetic than my husband. And what is the head start, you ask? Well, it's something called good grades at college and an actual degree. Jasper, on the other hand, was not exactly the academic type, so he ended up in a bit of a struggle, just to put it mildly. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a genius to succeed in life, but here's the deal. His only real option was to hit the books, and he decided that just was not for him. Our parents pushed. Oh, how they pushed, but he had other plans. But that little exchange I shared with a moment ago pretty much sums up my relationship with Jasper and Leslie. Let me shed some light on my brother Jasper's life. The reason behind my stupid decision, now picture this. A guy who never warmed up to the idea of school. Jasper's approach to education was, well, unconventional. Instead of attending classes, he perfected the art of bunking. He got caught multiple times. You would think he would learn, right? Wrong. Education was not his thing. Even my dad's strict measure to warn him did not help. Okay, teenagers think of doing that a bunch of times during school years, right? But few of them do it, and Jasper was one of them. Now, when you drop out of high school, you usually have an idea of what you want to spend your time doing instead of school. Well, Jasper had zero idea. And he gave zero ducks about it. Jasper did not grow out of it. Now, instead of having useful knowledge, all he knows is ways of doing things illegally. Because he had nothing, he could not even manage to find himself a partner who would want to date a 25-year-old man with no prospects and zero ambition. As the years went by, he just got older, and well, nothing changed. Desperation began to creep in. I have no idea where he stumbled upon Leslie, but one day he showed up at our parents' place introducing her as his future wife. When asked how long they've been dating, he just mumbled something about it being some time, which was a lie. Even then, my parents gave their blessing and they went ahead and tied the knot. Leslie, well, she's quite a piece of work. There's a whopping 12 years between her and Jasper, and yeah, that is quite the age gap. Something was off, but I could not put my finger on it. Her way of talking was odd, and her choice of clothing was, well, let's just say it raised eyebrows. I'm not being judgmental, but that was how everybody reacted. She was a walking red flag, and yet Jasper practically worshipped the ground that she walked on. It started as a funny and pathetic sight, but soon enough, it became my biggest source of a headache. Let me break it down for you. Leslie and Jasper were scraping by, earning just enough, well, not to beg for food. They were living in a trailer, crying out loud, but here's the deal. Despite their humble circumstances, Leslie had a laundry list of demands from Jasper. He tried to fulfill them by striking luck with gambling or shamelessly asking friends for loans and donations. But honestly, how long could that have gone on before he came knocking at my door? Within a few months of their marriage, Jasper showed up at my place with his hand out, claiming it was for something urgent. I reluctantly handed over some cash, and it soon became a habit. He would not stop. There was always some crisis lurking, crisis that of course required urgent financial solutions. When I finally got frustrated and decided I was not going to be his personal ATM, Leslie lost it at the next family meeting. In a painfully calm voice, she labeled me rude, selfish, obnoxious, accusing me of not caring about my dear brother and his wife, even though I was supposedly so rich. I countered, mentioning I was not Bill Gates, but that only seemed to fuel her anger. Instead of addressing me directly, she launched into a tirade about how they were drowning in financial woes and how making ends meet was an impossible feat, blah blah blah. The same old story. For a few weeks, Jasper did not reach out to me for money, probably too embarrassed by his wife's behavior. It was a welcoming break, but it did not last long. The whole ordeal started up again, and this time with Jasper announcing that he needed help for Leslie's pregnancy. He promised he had done everything in his power to handle the situation, but their financial situation and the cost of healthcare meant that they would not be able to properly care for their unborn child for the remaining months. I had to admit that was a sensitive issue, and I sympathized with their predicament, so I handed a substantial sum in cash, intended to last about 2 months. But, lo and behold, Jasper showed up at my doorstep just 3 weeks later, proudly declaring that the money had vanished. Excuse me? What the hell? Just because it was not his hard-earned money did not mean he had the right to squander it so recklessly. I stood my ground. I flat out refused, and when I declined, his face fell, and he looked genuinely upset. But instead of resorting to the same tactics as his wife, he dropped to his knees, sobbing at my feet, and he pleaded that if he could not get some money, they would not be able to take proper care of the baby. He painted a vivid picture of his fear, the dread of facing a challenging situation he simply could not handle. I warned him sternly that this would be the last time. I would not budge an inch. If he cared for his baby's well-being, I told him he needed to step up and work harder. He agreed, promising that he would change, but was that the end of it? Of course not. The next time he came, it was for something even bigger. Something that was not about money, it was about a home. And here's where my current dilemma begins. This time he did not leave my side. His request was nothing short of absurd. He wanted me to buy him a house because Leslie had threatened that she would not raise her baby in a trailer. To sweeten the deal, he promised he would repay all the cash through monthly payments. I was tempted to point out that he would need to be reborn 100 times to afford the kind of house he was demanding with his current earning. Instead, I reminded him of all the money that he owed me up until this point, and he vowed to pay me back in due time. I refused, of course. That was a massive demand. However, in the following months, he somehow managed to pay back almost all the money he owed me. Where he got the cash, I have no idea for some time. I honestly believe that Jasper worked hard if he wanted to. So, when he made the request again, I made a secret move and bought a home in my name. Not too extravagant, but sufficient. I planned to reveal it to him, and once he paid back all the money he owed me, he did. And for a moment, I thought things might be improving, and that was when I discovered the source of the money Jasper had returned from my previous help. I never thought I would uncover the truth, but then my parents spilled the beans about the money they've given Jasper to save up for a home. And that wasn't all. Every relative I spoke to said a similar story. They had all chipped in because Jasper claimed he wanted to buy a home. What a hilarious charade. Turns out, that was how he managed to return my money in cash. What a joke. But I had my own plans in motion. I decided to inform him about the home, but I laid down some strict rules. He would have to sign a contract because the house would never be in his name, and they would not have to pay rent since they could barely manage their household expenses. However, in the contract, I made sure to write one thing clearly. I, Suzy Williams, the owner of the house, have every right to remove the occupants without providing any reason whatsoever. The silver lining was that Jasper never bothered to read through it. So guys, is the cautionary enough given the circumstances? Let me know. Top comments from the original post. Comment number 1. LMAO. He got played hard by his own sister and had no idea. I live for sibling relationships like this, LOL. More importantly, I really want to know why the heck would you give your brother so many chances? It's like you're intentionally trying to sabotage yourself. If you're really as rich and successful as you claim to be, then shouldn't you have cut off these sort of people from your life the moment it gives you the wrong first? It's your fault your brother is such a greedy jerk, by the way. Comment number 2. I swear, people like OP's brother make me so mad. How can you be so old and not know your stuff? He's lazy, that's what he is. Also, I somewhat agree with some of the comments. OP wasn't supposed to help him so much as to make him feel entitled, but honestly, we all feel a little vulnerable when it comes to siblings, so I don't really blame OP. But honestly, I feel like OP is on her own after all this, because the fact her sister-in-law still disrespects her despite knowing OP has helped them so much. What kind of crazy woman is this? And what if she is a gambler too, since you said you're super sus of her? Anyways, good luck. Update number 1. So, my sister-in-law decided to hold a house inauguration party for the home I rented out to Jasper for free, and dared not to invite me because she believed I had not paid a single penny for the house. What? Let me tell you all about it in a little post. I'll be honest, I was a little disheartened after seeing so many negative comments about me, but given what recently transpired, it makes perfect sense. I was well aware that I made mistakes, but now I think I should have called it quits at some point. Regardless, it's all water under the bridge now, and we're just waiting for the consequences to catch up with us. And I'm pretty sure they already have, so let me fill you in on what's been going on over the past few weeks. Soon after Jasper signed the contract, he went for a spree of creating fake documents. What were these documents, you ask? Well, they were falsified papers that claimed he was the legitimate owner of the home. Not me. But did I have an inkling about it? Absolutely not. I suppose Jasper kept this from me because he knew I would lose my temper if I found out. So, I stumbled upon the information accidentally at yet another family event. The kind of gatherings I had no desire to attend but was forced to because of Leslie's drama. As I mentioned in my previous post, Jasper had been seeking money to buy a home, a plan concocted by both him and Leslie, and after collecting funds from various relatives and realizing it was still not enough, Leslie asked Jasper to approach me about the money. However, knowing I would react strongly, Jasper instead directly requested me to purchase the home. It might sound utterly ridiculous, but that is just how Jasper operates. Frankly, it's always made me want to burst out laughing at his antics. Anyways, did I buy them the home? Yes, I did. But here's the thing, he never informed his wife about it. Instead, he told her that he had taken a loan from others to buy the house. What Leslie did next was a direct consequence of that decision. About 2 weeks ago, they started sending out invitations for the house party. Honestly, I could not care less about it, but a small part of me hoped that they would have had the audacity to send me an invitation after everything I've done. But of course, that did not happen. In fact, I found out about the party through my mother, who casually asked what I was planning to wear to the event. I had no idea what she was talking about, so she explained it all to me. I was beyond irritated by the whole situation, and the unfairness of it all left me feeling a tad bitter, fueling my heart with a deep desire for revenge. I only had one idea in mind: to teach them a lesson. Still, I did not quite understand why Leslie had done this to me. So I called up Jasper, and that's when he explained the situation in hand. Jasper repeated everything I'd already shared with you. He even suggested that, just to maintain peace, I should not attend the party. Naturally, I did the opposite. The moment I arrived, Leslie unleashed her fury on me in front of everybody. Her main accusation, since I had not contributed a penny to the house, I had no right to be there. My parents, disappointed, looked on, and just as I was about to expose the web of lies Jasper spun, my older brother intervened, attempting to salvage the party atmosphere. He made a toast and pulled his wife away from me, likely feeding her a plethora of lies. I was seething, wanting to leave as everyone's accusing and staring at me. But then Jasper returned, and this time he began to apologize for his wife's behavior, reciting the same old story. It was also at this moment that he casually mentioned he had forged a few documents to prove he was the actual owner. I was enraged. Even though I am not a legal expert, I don't know what forging documents is a crime or not. Given the audacious attitude, I saw this as an opportunity, but I made it clear to Jasper that my patience was wearing thin. If Leslie did not change her behavior, I would take action. His feeble advice, just avoid Leslie, well guys, that was the wrong answer. I realize I have the upper hand in this situation, yes, and truth be told, despite the chaos they bring into my life, I do find a certain enjoyment in this ongoing drama. Anyways, I'll update you soon enough. Update number 2. You see, Leslie's pregnant, and I genuinely do not want to stress her out too much, but it appears she's allergic to peace. Call her naive or whatever you will, but almost a month after the party, she invited a few of her relatives, including me, over for what she claimed were crucial discussions, according to her. It was absolutely essential that we all be present. When we arrived, she spun a web of tales before finally revealing that she needed financial assistance for some urgent matters. If you assumed her urgent matters were related to her pregnancy, you would be wrong. It had nothing to do with that, instead it had everything to do with the house. She wanted to make some changes to it, but hey, that was my home. Would I allow it? Absolutely not. I let her talk for a while, and during her snarky comments about me and my lifestyle, I realized she had some serious issues with my wealth and successful job. She hated that I was doing so much better than the both of them combined, and even though we came from the same poor family, well, it was not my fault that neither Jasper nor she put in any effort to improve their own lives. But I let her spew her nonsense, wearing a smug smile on my face. The fact that she had no idea about the truth her husband was hiding from her was enough to assure me that her peace would be shattered after today. As she continued with her monotonous speech, managing to sway the minds of my relatives and a couple of people walking in, Leslie then detailed the changes she wanted in the home. I allowed her to explain, and sure, some of her ideas were decent, but let us be clear about one thing, that was my home. After she finished, looking at me with a malicious grin for who knows what reason, I informed the designers that no such changes would be made. Well, this visibly made her mad. She was on the brink of throwing a fit, but my relatives intervened, insisting that I had no right to dictate what she could do to her home. It was not my home, and that was the end of it. The argument grew louder, but I stood my ground with the designers. They seemed uncomfortable, so I handed them some money and apologized for wasting their time. As soon as the designers left, Leslie's behavior took a violent turn towards me, prompting my relatives to urge me to leave the place immediately, but I refused to comply, asserting that Leslie had no right to make such a demand. However, the pregnant woman's conduct grew increasingly erratic. Fearing it might negatively impact the little baby, my family insisted that, well, I leave. Right in front of me, she called the designers back, and I was seething with anger. I no longer wanted to play games, I just wanted to confront my brother and his wife. I tried calling Jasper, but he never picked up. It was at that point I thought to myself, well, it is time to put the contract to good use. They were not going to live peacefully after today, I had decided. Update number 3. I served Jasper with an immediate notice to vacate my home. I had every right to do so, and he signed those darn papers. It was not my fault he had not read through it, it was his. I had zero shame in wanting to exploit it. It was a difficult situation, but I truly believed neither Jasper nor Leslie had a clue about how to deal with this kind of stuff. For several days, Jasper did not react at all. He was probably contemplating how to break the news to Leslie, but I don't care. I just needed them out of my home. I gave them a 3-week notice and waited for them to leave or unleash another drama. And the drama did indeed arrive. Instead of having a civilized conversation over the phone, Jasper showed up at my place to throw a tantrum. It was the most pathetic display ever. I warned him that if he did not leave my home, I would call the police, and well, they would not appreciate the fact that he had forged documents, would they? However, instead of scaring him off, that threat seemed to bring out the worst in my brother. He became verbally abusive, and despite repeatedly claiming his wife would leave him with the baby, he restored it to physical aggression against me. That is hardly the way to convince somebody to help you, is it? So I made it crystal clear that I did not want to see either of them in my house no matter what. He abruptly halted his pacing and launched an attack on me. He swung a fist so hard that it knocked me off my feet, and I hit my elbow on the coffee table. Numerous infuriated thoughts raced through my mind, but one could not escape me. He had tried to harm me despite everything I had done for him and his family. I went above and beyond to fulfill their stupid wishes, and that was what he gave me in return. Realizing his grave mistake, he began pleading with me not to call the police. Well, I assured him I would not and just asked him to leave. I thought the ordeal was over, but then he snatched my phone and hurled it against the wall. That was over the line, buddy. He claimed it was to prevent me from calling the police and then departed. I immediately sought refuge at my neighbor's place, shared my situation with them, and asked if I could call the police. Thank goodness they were compassionate enough to help. The police arrived, assessed the situation, and within 2 hours they arrested him. I had informed them about the forged documents, and they began working on that aspect of Jasper's case as well. He was already facing charges of assault, battery. Honestly, I felt a sense of relief seeing him face the consequences he deserved. Then his wife confronted me, demanding answers for my actions, and during the court proceedings for Jasper's case, she asked him about the truth regarding the house. He confessed to everything. He revealed that they had pleaded with me to buy a home and had signed a contract stating they could live there without paying any rent. He was thrilled about having a house and not having to pay any rent at all, that he had not paid attention to the conditions. I set into the contract, particularly the clause that allowed me to evict them with notice. He also admitted to forging the document in an attempt to make her happy. He probably expected her to give him some sweet kisses for that last confession, but nothing like that happened. All Leslie cared about was the house. The moment Jasper's sentence was announced for everything he did, Leslie told him that she would send him a divorce paper now. It seemed to enrage Jasper, and he tried to attack me again in court, but it was not the best setting to do that because he was caught. And now sure, he's not coming out of there for a very long time. He's facing a lengthy sentence. Since 3 weeks were long over and Leslie had not left, I warned her that I would do the same with her that I did with her husband, and she got a little snarky about it but left. But I had a feeling that wasn't the end of it. And to make sure she got her karma, I shifted to my new home, knowing full well that it would work as a lure. So people, if it does not, then this will be the last time I updated this post. Unless... Update number 4. So people, for the last time, here we go. When Leslie threw me out of my own home and later informed Jasper about it, he told her that I was facing some issues at work and it was hitting me so hard that I could not longer distinguish between their home and my own. And then he floored her with some psychological crap that because I had no control over my job, I wanted to control their lives. Apparently, the desperate image of me that Jasper created in front of her made her satisfied and happy. She was glad to hear it, and that was why, despite my warning, she did make some changes around the house. When I shifted to my home, I removed all those extra silly things, but this thing reached Leslie, and she barged into my home with an old key, unannounced, to throw a fit just like her husband, and she claimed that I had ruined her life and warned me that I was going to pay for it. Besides that, she also said that she could not believe I was so greedy for money that I could not even give them a house, or what? She had everything very wrong. And it was getting on my nerves. Imagine a pregnant woman about 6 or 7 months along, acting like that. It's a cause for concern and frustration for sure. Well, I felt the same way, so I called the police. Currently, the court is deliberating on what to do with her given situation, and it's clear that she'll be charged with trespassing at least, but so far, it appears she may be left with a fine and a bit of community service. To be honest, I just want something to happen so I can finally get her out of my life. My parents were somewhat disappointed with the entire situation. They mentioned that we all have handled things better and that we enabled Jasper's behavior in some ways. However, they're relieved that Jasper will learn his lesson in jail. In addition to the divorce proceedings, my parents also learned about Leslie's past. Remember how I mentioned there was something unusual about her behavior in my first post? Well, it turns out that she used to be a stripper. I do not have a particular opinion on that subject, so you can form your own thoughts and judgments about that, but yes, that was her occupation before she married Jasper. Although it's clear that she's always been a dumb person despite any profession she picked up. As for the baby, I don't know what the future holds, but there's talk of her possibly leaving the child at an adoption center. That's a situation I'm not sure how to handle. While I'm bidding farewell for now, I welcome any suggestions or advice you might have regarding the baby. Thank you. Top comments from the updates. Comment number 1. Your family is so messy. I hate myself for not telling you earlier that you could have easily avoided this drama had you, well, destroyed your brother in his sleep, LMAO. There's a special place in hell for people who behave like your brother, OP. Anyways, the fact that he wasn't even grateful for your help, oh my gosh, I can't stand people like that. I've been dealing with so many people like that in my life that I'm getting sick of hearing others go through the same. At least he got his karma. I guess that's it. I don't know about the baby though. That's a very sensitive situation. If your sister-in-law plans to do exactly that, then she should have gotten a worse consequence, honestly. Comment number 2, capital letters, inform the police or CPS immediately. If you feel like she could do something like that to the baby, or even worse, I think cops or CPS can help with that. I'm pretty sure they have a solution for this sort of thing. Unless they don't, I don't know. But give it a try. Trust me, you don't want to see another kid in the orphanage of all places. It'll make that innocent baby's life much more complicated and horrible. Just address that. So it turns out that Jasper is headed to jail. Guys, I want to know, out of those last 2 comments that we just went over and discussed, which one do you think makes the most sense and which one would you side with the most? The comment that says, inform the police or the CPS immediately. That's probably a good idea because we have to have the kid's best interest in mind. Let me know what you guys would do. Drop your comments downstairs in our comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every single day. If you want more daily videos, stop by tomorrow, see what we're doing. I'll see you guys then, and I hope you have a great day. And remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.